So when we're writing if statements and we want to check that one variable is equal to another variable, we use the double equal sign, the equality operator. In this case, if the contents of the variable A are equal to the contents of the variable B, we're going to execute whatever statements are inside the opening and closing curly braces. But there's a mistake that's very easy to make. In fact, pretty much every programmer in a C-based language will make this at some time in their career, and that's to accidentally use assignment, the single equal sign, instead of equality, the double equal sign, or in JavaScript, the triple equal sign. What that means is that, say we create a couple of variables. Variable A, set it equal to 5. Variable B, set it equal to 10, using the single equal sign to assign, to set the values of these variables. A little later on in the code, I might write an if statement, and I'm asking, is A equal to B? But I accidentally used the single equal sign instead of the double equal sign. Well, we have a problem now. What's going to happen is we're going to execute the if statement. It's going to hit that code, and it will say, okay, single equal sign, that's assignment. And it will set A equal to the value B. And this successful operation will then be regarded as true, and the code inside the if statement block will always be executed, even when you think it shouldn't be. So we have just made A equal to B. Now, this is perfectly legal syntax in JavaScript, but it can lead to code that just doesn't work the way you expect, and it's difficult to debug because it's easy to miss. What we should have done here is use the double equal sign. So remember, when you see the single equal sign, that is the assignment operator. You are telling, this is a command. When you see the double equal sign, this is the equality operator. You're asking, is one thing equal to another thing? Now, and in JavaScript, and in a couple of other languages like PHP, there is another equality operator, which is the 3 equal sign or triple equal sign. Now, even if you're an experienced programmer, you might not have come across this one before. Again, it's in JavaScript, it's in PHP, but it's not in most C-based languages. A 3 equal sign is what's called the strict equality operator. Now, what the devil does this mean? Well, let me show you an example. So in this simple code here, I'm creating a variable called A, and I'm setting it to the number 123. Then I'm creating a variable called B, and I'm setting it to the string 123. Now remember that we talked about JavaScript being a weak typed language, that any variable can hold any kind of value, whether it's a number or a string or a Boolean. So what's happening here is I'm asking, is A equal to B? A is 123, B is 123, but it's a string. They're actually different types of data. Let me run this example. I'm going to run the HTML code that contains this, and it pops up the message, yes, they are equal. And that's what happens if I use the double equal sign. Even though, strictly speaking, they're different kinds of data, JavaScript is being flexible here. It's kind of saying, yeah, I know what you mean when you want to compare the two. You probably want to say this is true. However, if I used the triple equal sign here, I'm just going to save that JavaScript, go back and reload the page, this would say, no, they're not equal. And this is the strict equality operator, the triple equals, which is going to make sure that not only do we have the values the same, but the types better be the same too. So variable A and variable B better both be numbers. One can't be a string. To make this equality check work, I'd have to remove the quotes here. If I then save that and refresh it again, it would say, yes, they are equal. They're equal. They're identical. They're both 123, and they're both numbers. When you're using JavaScript, some writers recommend using the triple equal sign all the time and never using double equals. I wouldn't go that far. When I see a double equal sign in some JavaScript, I don't think it's wrong, but it's certainly not a bad habit to get into, that when you're checking equality in JavaScript, you'd use the triple equal sign. So to round those up, we have if A is equal to B, using the double equal sign, or not equal to, using the exclamation mark equal sign. We have the strict equality, not just equal but identical. Similarly, we have the not strictly equal, the exclamation mark equals equals. All of this you're going to run into a lot. But we also have the other kinds of comparison. If A is greater than B. And again, remember, it doesn't really care what any of these values are. Whatever's in the parentheses just needs to be true or false. A is either greater than B or it is not. A is either less than B or it is not. We also have the greater than or equal to, and not surprisingly, the less than or equal to. All of these operators, if there's more than one character in them, you can't put a space in between them. They're all considered one indivisible unit. What we often then have to do is take it a step further. We need to ask multiple things at the same time. So let's say I've got 4 variables. What I want to ask is if the variable A is equal to the variable B and the variable C is equal to the variable D. Now I could do this with 2 if statements, but it's nice to combine them all on one condition. I can't use the word and here. There are some languages where you do, things like the BASIC-based languages, but not in the C-based languages. What we use instead is the double ampersand. Now what this means is both of these conditions, A has to be equal to B, or strictly equal to B, and C has to be strictly equal to D for this whole thing to be regarded as true. Again, the entire contents of the parentheses have to be true. And sometimes we don't want to go that far. We might ask if A is strictly equal to B or C is strictly equal to D, then we want that condition to be true. Well, instead of the 2 ampersands, we use the 2 vertical bars, pipe symbols, depending on what you call them, or how we say an or inside this condition. To make it a bit clearer to read, you often enclose the separate conditions inside their own set of parentheses. You don't have to do this, but it can make it a bit more readable. So in this case, we're saying if A is greater than B and C is less than D. And sometimes when you have these complex conditions with longer named variables, they can get pretty long, so you can break them onto multiple lines, although keep each unit together. I wouldn't typically take it this far, but because line breaks are insignificant, we could do it if we thought it made it more readable.